I always like to follow a trail. And my next guest was brought to my attention by a trends guest who's a history teacher, Shalina, last week, right? It was one about an ex-A-level student of hers. In case you missed it, here's a refresher.
It's a charity called Sufra, S-U-F-R-A. They're known as Sufra NW London, and they're a grassroots organisation based in Stonebridge, and they just do such fantastic work. So they do things like ask for donations of, seasonal donations. So over this winter, they donated over 1,000 coats across the community, which is amazing. But this week, they've launched a new project, which is called the Community Wellbeing Project, and it is fantastic. It provides shopping, hot meals in their community kitchen. But what I love about it as well is they provide advice and support as well. So they're providing welfare advice, social activities as well to get people kind of networking and meeting each other. And it's just a brilliant organisation. And I spoke to my ex-student yesterday, actually, and just said, what can I say that you guys need? And she just said, we really need, food donations and toiletries. So if anyone listening is, in Northwest London and able to provide anything, that would be brilliant. But they just do such a wide range of work, and it's really fantastic. And what's brilliant actually is they've got loads of young people that work for them, that are kind of locals, and it's just the work they're doing is really brilliant. So I wanted to give them a bit of a plug because they're just doing fantastic work. And my ex-student Sabina is really loving working for them, so I wanted to give them a shout out.
So I'm pleased to say Director of Sufra Northwest London, Rajesh Makwana, BEM, joins me now. Hello.
Hello, Eddie.
What's it like to hear somebody talk about what you do like that?
Well, it's rare to be featured on the radio, so I'm ever so grateful that we've had that plug. There are so many reasons why that bit of publicity is helpful. It's helpful to make sure people know that we're here and that there is advice and there is support available for people who are experiencing, the real brunt of the cost of living crisis. And it's helpful in terms of being able to maybe get a few more donations in, because obviously we can't survive without the support that we get from the community. So thank you.
So tell us about what you do then, in your own words.
Okay, so we're a community food and support hub. We're based in Stonebridge on St. Raphael's estate. I think you might know the area. Is that right, Eddie?
Yeah, I do. I know, but I know it's an area to stay away from.
Well, it's no longer quite that bad here. We've been here for 10 years now. I mean, this is our 10th anniversary now this year. So we've been here for some time. What I will say about this particular estate is there's very high levels of poverty here. Child poverty is around 47%. And that's quite similar to areas nearby around Dollis Hill and Harlesden. So we sort of cover, although we're based on this estate, we support people across the borough, and we're one of the largest and busiest food banks in the area. But food isn't the only thing food banking isn't the only thing that we do. We have a very wide variety of different services that we provide. We recognize that food aid is not the solution to food poverty, and that's really critical to understand because there's been a huge explosion in the number of food banks since the pandemic. Demand for food banks has been on the rise ever since we started in 2013, and there's no sign of it stopping, to be honest.
Let me stop you there. I mean, every now and again I listen to the odd debate, whether it be the Lords or I know I need to get a life or whatever. But every now and again, one of them will say, well, look, those things are there as a temporary measure. And those things are there. The more of them there are, the more people will use them because it's free food. Is that what your experience on the ground tells you?
I don't think it's so much of a case that the more there are, the more people use them because it's free food. I think it's the other way round. Demand for food aid has been on the rise since austerity measures came into play just more than a decade ago now, right? And we know that the pandemic made things a lot worse, and we know that the cost of living is now making things a lot worse, with more or less the average person struggling to get by, struggling to make ends meet, and increasingly relying on the support that's available in the community. So and the fact you mentioned earlier that it's a temporary fix. Yeah, of course, food banks were never meant to become part of the welfare system, but effectively they are part of a de facto part of the welfare state now, because there are so many of them across every borough across the UK and in other countries as well, that people are reliant upon them. And, you know, people can't do without that additional support. So it's now, I think, ingrained and entrenched in our welfare system that there are these community-based organisations that are providing support, and it should not be the case. That should never have happened in the first place.
Yeah, we can say that, but I think you're right. It is becoming the norm. I mean, you know, we talk about food banks. So I'm looking at the help there is for people with dementia. I'm looking for the support. And most of the support is coming from charities. It's coming from volunteers, coming from, you know, individuals within local boroughs who are setting themselves up to help people, which is, I don't know, it's a great thing in terms of what it means about people like you, but I'm not sure what it says about us as a society. Exactly.
I mean, look, the fact of the matter is we can't do this without some amazing volunteers. We've got well over 100 volunteers, around 120 volunteers are active every month across all our different services. And it's amazing to see people being able to give back to the community and really enjoy what they do and to come together. And it's fantastic.
Well, help me to understand this, because one of the things that Shalina said that stood out, which is why I knew I had to talk to the organisation and understand it. She said lots of young people. And I think young people are out there, I don't know, putting those things on their eyes or taking pictures of themselves or practicing contour makeup or making trips to Turkey to enhance their features. Why do you think you have managed to attract so many young people?
It's just historical here, I think, at Sufra. We've been based on an estate. We've always had a good relationship with some youth programs in the past. As I say, we do lots of different things here. So we've got a community garden, a large food growing project here. We've had
what are you proud of? We like that kind of talk there. What are you proud of growing? What if I came up there? What would you say? Ed, come and have a look at how I grow this. Look at the size of my whatever. What's the thing that you do very well up there?
In terms of growing,
yes.
There's such a variety. It's all organic. There's like 70 or 80 different varieties of organic fruit and vegetables and herbs, everything from various types of nuts and then the staples that we grow for people, the staple veg that we grow. There's such a variety. We've also got, they've recently been unfortunately, they're not there at the moment. I'll explain why, but we've got a chicken coop and we have 20 chickens that lay eggs for us as well that we distribute. So that's probably the thing that attracts a lot of attention, the chickens in the garden. But yeah, there's a lot going on here to be proud of. But the other side of the coin that you alluded to earlier,
let's get to the other side of the coin in a minute. I've got one of my managers who doesn't normally help in any interview what I do who shouted at me. Ask him about the pizza oven.
The pizza oven. You know about the pizza oven?
No, I don't. But I want you to tell me.
Okay. So we have a large pergola in the community garden, which is a very large space, and we have a pizza oven in there. That was again, all of the garden has been built by volunteers, pretty much, including just local people, but also some of the big contractors who work in the area who support us and come and give us a hand. And so we've got this massive pizza oven that we use whenever we can. For volunteers, for local guests, we put on events and garden parties for the estate a couple of times a year. So whenever we can, we use it.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sorry. I just thought I'd ask you, it sounds brilliant. Tell me about the other side of the coin. Apologies for interrupting you.
No, don't apologize. Yeah, I mean, the other side of the coin is, like you were alluding to earlier, we shouldn't be here having to do this. Running a food bank is a very complex and difficult operation to manage logistically, in terms of managing the volunteers, managing the space, having the capacity to store all the food, making sure that you get the food in. There's been a real reduction in the quantity of food that gets redistributed to charities at the moment. It's a complex and difficult operation. Also, we're dealing with people who really are struggling, and the impact that has on the mental health of staff and volunteers is considerable. So, as much as on one hand, it's great to see communities coming together, They shouldn't have to be coming together to provide people with the absolute basic essentials that they have the right to.
Yeah, I mean, let's not do the political stuff. Let's do the stuff that champions you, your people, and then you can tell me how, if anybody listen, can support them. I'll tell you for why, you know, I'm listening to you and I haven't asked you what is normally one of my first questions. Why are you doing it?
Why am I doing it? Personally?
Yeah.
Well, personally, I actually started as a volunteer. So in 2016, I was in between jobs. My previous work was looking at global poverty and global inequality, and I was in between jobs. And I started volunteering here, and being a volunteer among a team of volunteers and really making a tangible difference to the life of people that you're serving in this sort of community space that we've got.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
Just hooked me in, yeah, as it does with everyone. We've got volunteers here who've been working here for since the very beginning, and they still come on an almost daily basis. I mean, you know, people love it. People love it. So that's what hooked me in. It was even more enjoyable being a volunteer than it was being a staff member when things get much more abstract and much more management, right? So, I'd really recommend.
Tell me about it. When you're a volunteer, you got a job, you come in, do the job, and you go home. You're dealing with all sorts of stuff now, aren't you?
Exactly. Exactly.
If people wanted to know more, they wanted to support, they wanted to volunteer, whatever it is, come on, sell yourself. You got a minute now. Tell us how people could get involved financially or in person.
If you just visit our website, and it's Sufra NW London, you just Google Sufra Food Bank, will come up. There's opportunities to volunteer, there's opportunities to donate food, there's opportunities to donate money. Everything is really welcome. We are struggling. All food banks are. Demand is on the rise. We support 5,400 people, individual people every year, and most of them come back multiple times. So it's something like 25,000 customers, if you want to call them customers. We call them guests. Sufra is an Arabic word for tablecloth, and it's what people lay on the floor to share food, to sit around and eat together. And it's that ethos of hospitality and sharing and inclusivity that we embody in the community. And the new project that we mentioned, I just want to give that a bit of a plug too. The project starts in 2 weeks' time in Bridge Park Leisure Centre, and anyone who lives anywhere near that is welcome to come along. There's another community kitchen in the evenings on Mondays and Tuesdays, a cafe that they can access on Mondays and Tuesdays. There's a program of support that includes a community shop, which gives people access to low-cost food. Most of that is available for anyone in the community to turn up and use for free. Some of it, including the shop, is part of a membership deal with a limited number of people who can sign up. Again, if you just Google Sufra, you can find out about it. If you're an organization that works with vulnerable people, you can sign people up to it if they meet the criteria. We'd really welcome as many people as possible to come and make use of these community facilities.
Listen, one day we'll come. You say Sufra is a tablecloth. We'll come lay down a tablecloth and hopefully we can break bread. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. I thank so much to Shalina for pointing it out.